I bought the cafe when I was young, when dreams still seemed like a good investment. It was small, old, in the dark, forgotten part of the old city. But to me, it was perfect. A place of wood and whispers, of worn leather and late-night jazz. A place where people had lived and talked and loved and left traces of themselves in the air. During the day, until late in the evening, I ran the cafe bar. Then, late at night, I wrote. My black cat slept on the counter, and I sat alone under the hanging lamps, tapping out stories on my typewriter. Stories of love, death, and mystery. Imagining myself to be Murakami above a jazz cafe. It was the life I wanted. Until the morning the final notice came. It confirmed our fate. The government were seizing all the land in the area. They were building a highway and a shiny new shopping mall with flashing lights and plastic signs. And the whole neighborhood was about to be torn down and forgotten. My cafe would be gone in a matter of weeks. I felt something inside me break. For days and weeks I ruminated, muttering to myself, pacing the floor. I fantasized about tying myself to the building, vandalizing the offices that signed that order, or anything to stop them. Revenge, anger, fury were my companions. But the days passed and the end crept closer. I did nothing. Fewer and fewer people came to the bar as the neighborhood emptied out. Except one customer, one man, an old man. He came in like clockwork, always alone. He ordered the same drink, a Hibiki whiskey, neat, but he barely touched it. He sat in the same seat, always, the one by the window. Outside that window stood a long, bent-armed street lamp, the color of a pale moon. Beside it, a willow tree hung low over a quiet path and a small bench. When it rained, every drop glittered through the lamplight, like falling sparks of wonder. It was a magical corner of the city, one you'd never notice until you saw it. And once you saw it, you learned to love it. This old man clearly did love that bench. He stared out at that spot every night. He carried a diary, thick, old, full. He'd bend over it for hours, scribbling with pencils worn down to the stubs. He never spoke except to mutter his order. And he never once looked at me. Some nights he filled me with curiosity and wonder. Other nights with annoyance, as he sat there in silence, ignoring me. There were even times where he filled me with fear. Fear of becoming him. Fear of becoming old and lonely and invisible and nothing. I never bothered him. Not until the very end. The day before the demolition began, I finally told him the cafe would be closing and that he wouldn't be able to come here anymore. His eyes swelled and he sat there quietly. "I'm sorry," I said, "but you'll have to find a new place to go." There was an awkward silence. I hesitated. Then I took a chance. I asked him about what he wrote about. "Silence," he whispered. There was an awkward pause. "The secrets of silence." I didn't know what to say. To be honest, I found his answer annoying. So I went back to my duties, grumbling to myself. He left without finishing his drink, as usual. But this time, he also left without his diary. I know I shouldn't have opened it, but of course I did. On every second page was a drawing. A man and a woman beneath the same street lamp, sitting on the bench, dancing, whispering, laughing. Each drawing penciled with tenderness, cross-hatched shadows, stolen moments, soft lines of love. On the facing pages were diary entries for each day he sat in the bar. Memories or fantasies? He wrote of walks in the mountains, sharing food, quiet mornings, her smile, her eyes, the way she breathed in the cold air. A life described with such intimacy that I felt that I'd stepped into someone's mind, or someone's heart, or some place that I shouldn't have been. But who was she? And why did he come here every night to write about her? The next day, they tore out the sidewalk. They dug up the earth. And the street lamp, his street lamp, fell with a groan of metal and dust. That night, I waited for him, and he came as usual. But for the first time, he didn't sit by the window. He turned away from it and sat facing inward at the empty bar, facing me. I thought I saw tears in his eyes, so I tried to speak. I told him that the cafe would be closed tomorrow. He nodded slowly. There was another silence. I brought him his diary and placed it gently on the bar, but he pushed it away. "You don't want it?" I asked. He shook his head. I gathered the courage to ask him who the woman was. He whispered, "Everything I ever wanted." Was she real? He looked at me, truly looked at me, and said, "As real as I am." He stood, gathered his trench coat around him, and said quietly, "But this time is over, and I must join her now." Then he walked out of the cafe, and I never saw him again. That night, I closed the bar for the last time. Miles Davis whispered through the speakers. My cat stretched and yawned on the countertop. I locked the door and walked from what was my home slowly under the quiet moon. The next morning, I returned just in time to see the bulldozers crush the cafe. All its voices, all its memories into dust. As the smoke settled, I clenched my fists and slowly let them open. And something inside me, something tight and bitter, finally loosened. The world was changing. Those dreams had been stolen, and there was nothing I could do. In my hands, I still held the diary, and all that glowed beneath the streetlight remained encased in its silence. I turned away from the rubble and walked with my sleeping black cat in my arms, away from what was left of the old city.
Find the free PDF and quiz in the description and comments below. If you enjoyed this story, like and subscribe to join us here for more. Until next time.